one and all. This is Dr. Manjula, faculty in the Department of CSE, SRM University, AP. I'm an IEEE senior member. So I got an opportunity to interact with the Professor Sridharan of CDAC Bengaluru. So we have invited him to a talk on quantum computing. So the sequence of the entire session goes like this. So first our head, Professor Raghunathan, will be introducing the speaker to the audience. Okay, followed by Dr. Sridharan will be giving the entire talk on this quantum computing. So it's like the baby steps towards the quantum computing, then followed by question and answer sessions. So in between, if you have queries, the speaker is welcome to receive the questions and answer you. Apart from that, if you feel that you're unable to reach the speaker in between the session, you can leave your comments in the chat box. Those will be taken care and addressed at the end of the session. Finally, you'll be shared a feedback link. So we request the audience to please give your feedback, which will help us to improve further on such kind of quality sessions and talks. And that would end with the vote of thanks. Now I would hand over the stage to our head, Professor Raghunathan. Sir, the stage is yours.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Manjula.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm very happy to introduce about the today's chief guest and also the speaker, Dr. Sridharan. So Dr. Sridharan, he obtained his Master of Science in Mathematics as well as in Computer Science, and subsequently he completed his doctorate, and his research title, thesis title is Efficient Placement of Virtual Machines and Containers or Cloud and Edge Resources. And for the last, more than 25 years, actually has been working with Center for Development of Advanced Computing, Bangalore, in Research and Development Division. His research areas actually include correctness debugger and profilers for parallel and distributed computing, grid and cloud computing. He published more than 25 papers in international conferences and 5 SCI journals in the above areas. He had one patent to his credit for devising parallel debugger. His current research interests are cloud computing and quantum computing. And this about our chief guest, our today's speaker. I'm really very happy to introduce about today's speaker. Meanwhile, I take this opportunity to introduce about SRM to our speaker also. SRM University, sir, started in the year 2017. Mainly, the focus here is, research-based education, and active learning and flipped classes are the, latest techniques that we follow to implement the teaching learning process at SRM University. Okay. And of course, here all of our faculty members are PhDs from IIT, IIIT or NITs. Okay. And so far, we received 18 crore worth of fund from various government agencies, and our faculty members are actively carrying out research projects. And we are giving very good opportunities for the students, not only in academics, but also in research. And also we are giving a very good exposure to the students through semester abroad program and through research internships with some top universities, across the country, across the world. And the placements also here very good. The highest, package offered to the student is actually 29.5 lakhs. So overall, SRM University Amaravati is coming up like a very good university with by providing research-based education and very good academic and research experience to the students. So this is about SRM University, sir. So with this actually introduction, I leave the stage to Dr. Sridharan. Dr. Sridharan, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the nice introduction. And in fact, when we are moving into understand the baby steps towards the quantum computing, so baby step you are also making to bring a lot of changes in the students' life, especially from AP actually. That's nice to hear. So probably we'll grow together, maybe quantum computing and your institute also will grow together.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so with that hope, I'll just go ahead. And roughly we have planned for an hour of talk. So it may be here and there, left and right, so maybe there. I planned like that, just give some introduction about what I am going to talk about, how you are going to do about it, then follow a little history, and then what is QC, and then little bit mathematics, because QC, when you're talking about the quantum computing, maybe I'll use the word QC very often. When you're using QC, without mathematics, nothing can be done. So little bit on how the data is represented and how the operations will be done on that, and probably what are the problems suited currently identified, and finally how they are building the QC little bit. We'll talk all about that, and finally we'll conclude it. Okay, my voice is okay, no problem, right? Hello?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir. So just you need to share the screen, sir.
It's not fair, is it?
Yes, sir, your screen is not yet shared, sir.
Just a minute, I'll just see that.
Okay, sir. Yeah, yes, sir, it's visible, sir.
All right, fine.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so at the introduction, we go ahead. Basically, some small questions like what it will be computing. Okay, we'll start from that basic, so that it will be easy for people to understand it. In very small world, if you put the computing, is nothing but storing and processing the information, right? You may call this the data, or somebody will call this database, or whatever you call it. The activity is nothing but to store and process information. Now, as a human, generally what we'll do is now want to see, now extract more and more from little, right? So paying little money, you want to get as much as services from the people. So you'll be very happy. The same way, when the computer is getting very, very small, because this is not only in human world, it is in the machine world also. They will prove with when the machines are getting very small and small, you are getting more powerful systems. Especially the more thing we are going to use only number crunching. If you see that, almost 40, 50 years ago, okay, how one of the number crunching ability we have in the room size big machines, now that is coming in your latest cell phone itself. So as the machine goes very small and smaller, you're able to do much more, powerful number crunching, and we are able to solve much more complex problems also, right? So one problem is that the basic switching and memory units of computers, right, is kind of beyond the reach of even the world's most powerful computers. When it is coming, use the transistors, right? These transistors are now approaching the point where they will soon be as small as individual atoms. So considering this, if you want computers that are even smaller and more powerful, then what will you do? You would have to change your approach of doing it, right? That approach is given by your atom actually. So when you enter the world of atoms, it opens with new possibilities like quantum computing. But one way or other way, the representation in mathematics may change, but already we are entering that stage because the transporters are becoming very, very small, right? So these quantum computers, the quantum processors promises to work million times faster than the current processor. Only thing it is more complex than current computing, as the general laws of physics, what we are using now, will be failing at the quantum layer, right? So now we will see that what is your conventional computing does basically. You probably think of the computer as small gadget, isn't it? Using in functions according to principles of classical mechanics. And what for you are using? It may be absurd, but most of the people are using for socializing, using your Facebooks and Twitters. If that is not there, then next is shopping online. Even further, then you will sit and play some games, sitting in the home to spend your time. And of course, some scientific community are working on some mathematical and scientific problems also. So this is the conventional computer. We can talk about it. It is called as a binary computer also. But if you think only this much, this is the only computer, then I will tell much more. If you tell so much it is doing, then I can define it very small. How it is? Now we are telling it is much more because it is a general purpose machine. Using this machine, virtually you can do whatever you want, right? The limiting factor is only about your ability to think. How, see, for example, from sequential programming, we made parallel programming to now database also, we use a different kind of database. Everything came out of your thought process and thinking ability. So in that way, I will tell these small computers is much more than what we think. When you tell it is much more, then I will tell it is very simple because ultimately it doesn't know anything. It is a just extremely basic calculator. Do 1 plus 0, 0 plus 1, you play around only with 1 and 0, isn't it? But only thing is you have to write your own program called as a prearranged set of instructions using which you are going to write the prearranged program, right? So now the conventional computers have two tricks they really do well. One is, as I told, storing the things, right? And other thing is processing the stored matter. It is not, that means memory. Playing around the memory is a main activity of the computer. We may call this mathematical operation, addition and subtract or whatever it is. But whatever you are telling, that is only going to do it. So how it is doing it? By stringing together all these kind of small operations, we call it as algorithm or other things. It will make more and more complex, and it will tell us, as we call it, the human brain call is multiplying, addition, subtraction, all these things. We name it later for that. This is how it is work. Okay, the storing and processing are accomplished using switches called transistors. That you already might have known it, which are like a microprocessing version of the switches that we are using in our lighting the room for lighting, switching on the lights. Nothing more than that. A transistor can be either 0 or 1 according to light and be on or off. The same principle we are using inside the computer also. See what they are trying to do. Using this computer, the transistor can be either switched on, switched off. It is something like that. Become 1 or 2 or 1 or 0. And using these transistors, they will create some logical gates, right? That logical gates, in compared and stored some bits through registers, turn them into on or off. So create them some potence of bits, which we call as addition and subtraction, multiplication, whatever it is. Now, if you look on that, now see almost all things, like the size of a transistor. If you look into that, in the earlier days when we have find out transistor 1947, this transistor is called as before transistor is called vacuum tube. It has been replaced by transistors. At that time, the transistor size was almost equivalent to our thumb, entire thumb. But if you see the current state of the art, okay, it is integrated in circuits, 30 billion transistors, not 1 or 2. This 30 billion transistors are getting into the silicon chip, and that chip is nothing but nothing more than our nail size, not more than that. So this shows the demonstrating the incredible miniaturization, able to show it through that. When you see that, see for example, you take a USB of 512 MB, which is not, that also now outdated, because just to comprehend it will be easy. I'm using the 512 MB here. Otherwise, if you see everybody is 16 GB, 32 GB, 120 GB in thumb drive is still coming out. So what is happened? Not to comprehend, I put this. In USB stick contains the integrated circuits. It's have 512 megabytes, That is roughly around 500 million characters, right? So each A, B, C, D are represented through your 1001 kind of things. So if you see that almost 5 million characters are put into the term, okay, which need 8-bit binary digits. So what will happen? It is talking roughly around 4 billion transistors, right? So 4 billion, or that called in our Indian term, it is called 4 crore or 400 crore. If it is 100 crore and above, it is called Arab. So that means roughly around 4 Arab transistors, right? We need to create one USB thumb of 512 MB. That, so if you see that entire thing, the size is going to be just 512 MB size, and it is size of the USB itself is going to be a postage stamp size, nothing more than that. So that much we have grown in that. It sounds amazing, isn't it? But if you miss the point here, the more information you need to store, the more binary ones and zeros. And ones and zeros, nothing but a transistor, right? Since most conventional computers can only do one thing at a time, the more complex the problem you want them to solve, the more steps they will need to take, and the longer they will need to do it. So computing problems are so complex that they need more computing power and time than any modern machine could reasonably supply. Computer scientists call these are intractable problems. Okay, back in 1960, right? One gentleman called Gordon Moore. He was Intel co-founder. Okay, he realized that, right? Telling that the way the computing world grows is roughly doubles in 18 months. That is what we call this famous Moore's law. So using that law, if you see it, see that manufacturing technology capacity, what we have it. The chip management technology, the transistor density is nothing but what is the size of a nanometer on which how many transistors are being implanted. So if you see that the jumped by factor of 2.5 times when the size of your chip from 14 nanometer to 20 nanometer. However, and the same thing reduced from 14 nanometers to 10 nanometers, the jump was much more, right? From 37.5 million transistors per square millimeter, more than 100 million now. In last 5 to 10 years. So that's what we are calling that Moore's law is now it is applicable. It is obeying a Moore's law as such. If you see that growth, see from 1970 onwards, okay, up to 1979, if you see it, see that, please, I don't have any pointer to point out, so I use the mouse itself here. Yes, you can follow it up. So many companies at different years, right, come up with a different set of machines. And as of now, in Google and Amazon, AWS has come with 30 billion transistors in as of 2019. If this keep on grows, then obviously we may end up, with quantum mechanism, maybe around 240 or 250. I don't know that. So with that introduction, the need of quantum computer I just established. So now we will go into what is the quantum computer as such is supposed to do, how it is evolved. See that the history and status taught that in 1960 from IBM researcher Rudolf Lander opened the door for quantum computing, right? With by processing that information in a physical entity that can be manipulated using laws of physics. That is where the more computers started to come into picture. But in 1970, Charles Bennett showed that quantum computers could carry out massively complex computation without using massive amounts of energy. That is called, we call it reversible. What exactly reversible, that we'll deal a little bit later. Then the major milestone came from Richard Feynman in 1982 he outlined how machines using quantum principle could be carried out the basic computations. That's the one major milestone. So then in 1994, using Dan Simon ideas, Peter Shaw from AT&T Bell Lab came up with a quantum algorithm to factor very large numbers in a polynomial time. Then in 1995, the same author came up with some error correction, because when quantum you are going into that, it is very sensitive to the environment. There is a lot of possible to have error. So error correction also will come up with. Then 1997, Lou Grover at Bell Lab, he developed a quantum search algorithm with order of now root n, so which is very breakthrough, biggest breakthrough. Right, so something like that it went, and 2001 only one first working level 7-qubit NMR computers demonstrated by IBM Lab. Right, that time the number 15 was factored using 1018 identical molecules, each containing 7 atoms. Right, in 2011, there is a private entity called Dewey System in Canada, announced that they have produced 128 qubit machine, which raised controversy among researchers also, and then further it is sorted out. So as of now, if you see it, 2018, Google announced Bristol quantum processor based on 72 qubit array. And even 2017 itself, you say Microsoft unveiled the complete quantum development kit through which people can develop and put their hands on in the development. And IBM released Qiskit, the tool using which, free version of the tool using which you can develop your own algorithms. So this is the little history, and if you see the actual machines, how it happened, from 92 it started with 2 qubits from IBM Lab to slowly it increased in 2018, 72 qubits by Google, and now 2000 Rigetti is telling that they are coming out 128 qubits, and even IBM is claiming by 2023 they are going to come with minimum 1000 qubits for the usage. So this is how the growth is there. So once you completed this need of quantum computing and how it is growing, we'll go into what is exactly quantum computing and what is its types. That we will look into a little bit. So in that scenario, what is quantum computing? It is nothing but a machine, right, that uses quantum mechanics to perform certain type of calculations more efficiently than regular computer. How you to see is it is working in the same way, but only thing is works on kind of subatomic particles inside them. It called as atoms. Within the atoms, use the subatomic particles to work on that. You might think atoms behave the same way as everything else in the world, but that is not true. On the atomic scale, the rules changes, and the classical laws of physics, what we see day in day out, right, will no longer automatically apply there. And in a sense, if you know a little bit studied about the light, you already know a bit of quantum computing, quantum theory also, right? And similarly, why it is? Because you know that a beam of light sometimes behaves as though it is made up of particles, or sometimes it may behave like a bit of wave. So this dual behavior, wave particle duality, it is one of the ideas that comes to us from the quantum theory. It is hard to grasp that something can be two things at once, a particle and a wave, because it is totally new to our experience. See, everyday experience, we saw that a car cannot be a bus and bus cannot be a cycle. But here exactly we are claiming that atom can give both information to us, how it will work. In quantum mechanics, behavior of particles, atoms, items, electrons and protons will on the subatomic level, right? a certain type of key distribution in cryptography and search of unstructured data, wherein which these things has been shown working. Possibly of faster computers, that drawback is the greater complexity of designing computers and its ecosystem. Right? This quantum computer, we feel that okay, it becomes more faster because whether we can do away with the transmitters. If that is the case, it's very good. See, suppose we keep on pushing the Moore's law, keep on making transistors smaller until they get to the point where they obey not the ordinary laws of physics, right? But itself will start to obey the quantum mechanics. So in such a situation, when the computer designated this way can do things our conventional computers can't. If we can predict mathematically that they might be able to, can we actually make them work like that in a practice? That is what more important. So with that background on quantum, we'll see what is quantum computer types. There are three types we are talking about it. One is called quantum annealing or adiabatic computing. And another one is called quantum simulations. And third one is universal quantum computing or gate computing. What is happening here is, as I told, the adiabatic computing is nothing but quantum annealing, a little bit small difference is there between these two. As I told, that quantum computing is supposed to work on subatomic particles like electrons and protons. The problem what will happen is a small change in the environment will decompose the electrons. A small heat flow or transfer of heat, right? But temperature being a state property like pressure, volume, etc. may change. But still, no heat flow should be processed, should be there in that environment. So that is what we call adiabatic computing. So physically, you have to make sure that kind of environment we need to make it. And on that environment, we need to measure the protons and neutrons to get the information. This is one way. Another one is quantum simulation. Here, the simulation is explore specific problems in quantum physics that are beyond the capacity of classical systems. Simulating complex quantum phenomena could be one of the most important applications of quantum computing, like protein folding, one of the biochemistry's toughest problems, and the effect of chemical solutions on a large number of subatomic particles, otherwise known as we call as quantum chemistry. They are all very much using the quantum simulation. The basic idea behind the universal quantum computer is that you could direct the machine at any massively complex computation and get a quick solution. A truly universal quantum computing, next part I'm talking about it, truly universal quantum computing, or we call it gate computing, would like to make use of over 1 lakh qubits. Some estimates put in 2 million qubits. Remember that today the most qubits, as I told previously, it is not even 128. Rigetti is claiming that he is going to come out 128. Is not checked right now. So researchers have been designing algorithms for years that are only possible on universal computing quantum computer. As I told that previously that in the history, the Shor's and Grover's algorithms, these are all falling in this category. At least 50 plus other unique algorithms have been developed and to run on the universal computers. In the distant future, the universal computer, quantum computers could revolutionize the field of artificial intelligence also. Right? So now, seeing that we understood about what is quantum computing, how it is working, we'll move a little into what is data representation here. How data are represented, because we know that in computing we want 1 and 0 have to be manipulated and 0 1 has to be done, and that will be in quantum computer also we need to do the same thing, but how to manipulate that 1 and 0, that is what we need to find it out. So for that I am going into data representation, and this is what we call it as polygates this figure is here, right? This figure is, we call it as the Pauli gates, representing through the figure. The Pauli gates are named after an Australian theoretical physicist, Wolfgang Pauli. It is used to calculating the changes to the spin of a single atom. The atom whatever is going that spinning here is that using that spin we are going to find out the representation manipulation data. In the language of quantum mechanics and computing, vectors are depicted, right? Vectors are depicted in a pretty wired package called KET. What is KET? Nothing but bracket is there, no? You take the second portion of the KET. It is called this one mechanics called is Kettler method. Then in KET, actually what they are trying to do is two KETs they will put 0 and 1. Let's see, this is 0 and this is 1. They are putting at KETs, which will stand in for qubits in the form of electrons in the spin up state and the spin down state. Spin down is 0 and spin up is 1, or similarly they will ground or excited, right? The two energy levels of atom exist all represented by through this. One qubit to transform, right, a 2 by 2 array, and it's 4 elements. So for example, now see now in this figure, if you see it, we want to calculate the phi. The phi is nothing but your angle of this theta by 2 plus your epsilon over phi into by theta. You will get the A and B, the values. This A and B is nothing but a complex number. So in that scenario, if you see it, any vector pointing to the surface of the sphere is a valid quantum state. So measuring this quantum state and manipulating that is called quantum computing. So what will happen is, the only thing is when you talk about this 1 and 0 here, we are going to the KET representation of bits. We are going to talk about qubits. The qubit is nothing but a 2 by 2 array of 4 elements of a matrix. So when you want to work more and more quantum, you should be a little bit more knowledgeable and how to manipulate the matrix and get your information on that. But if you see that just one qubit will have 4, but the size of the matrix balloons with a higher number of qubits. That is, if you have 2 qubits, then it is 4 into 4, 16, and 3 qubits, it will become 16 into 16. It is almost 3 qubit is 16, 2 power 3. It is right. It should be a 464 bit. So it will keep ballooning like that. So efficiently, in essence, what you want is a 2n by 2n array, isn't it? That is, so manipulating that understanding is much difficult. So with that mathematics background, you will understand a little bit superposition, because here if you see it, see, as I told, 0 is your ground position and 1 is your excited position, but there is an in between position called a 0 plus b. This position is called superposition. See, the measuring the value of the quantum bits through the superposition is the one which is making the solution speed up for us. Okay, now to understand what is exact superposition is. It's nothing but a ultrasound beam of light. This I already told you. Sometimes behaves as though it's made up of particles. So if you observe the light through a window in morning, sitting at home or something like sunlight, you can see this lot of particles are flying through that ray. Or sometimes if you see it from distance, you can see that rippling waves, you are able to see it. So combining these two, the light, one entity, now expressing two dual activity called wave particality or wave particle duality. Similarly, you take the flipped coin. It's much more easier to understand. because now also you can try to do it. Just to flip the coin. We know sure, using the probability theory, when you are flipping the coin either land in one or two states, right? One of the two states, like heads or tail. So that is what exactly we are using in binary computers. But while the coin is spinning in the air, okay, the human eye may not able to really capture it, but actually it is in both states because keep on revolving it. It may be, you have to tell that it is both head and tail, isn't it? Otherwise, it's difficult to within that fraction of second we cannot able to see what is head or tail. So that position is called, we are calling a superposition. In quantum computing, how they are done is like 1 and 0, as I told, is the executive position and ground position. Now, same thing we use, the A0 plus A plus B is become a superposition where A and B are a complex number such that A square plus B square equal to 1. Right? So this is what a picture way of trying to do here. See, there is a nucleus, atoms are running here. So at the ground state, there will be some value that is 0 for us. But when you apply a pulse of frequency of energy for the interval time t2, then that atom get energized and moves across. Try to spin further. So that is what we are putting into the state of what is that superposition. And is called the state of 0 plus. So 0 plus 1. Right? Now we see the difference between quantum bits in classical bits and quantum bits. So as I already told in the case of transistors, you can see that the classical bits is nothing but either 0 or 1. It can be both. When it is off, it is 0. When it is on, it is going to be 1. Isn't it? Now, see the qubits. Qubits can be both 0 and 1. Because why? Just now we told superposition will contain both. Now see that. Suppose one qubit, it is A plus B. If two qubits, it is A plus B plus C plus D. It is 2 power n. Now with 3 qubits, how it is going? It is increasing. So now we see but A of 0, 0, 0, it means it is a 3 by 3 matrix for you. Right? And the value also going to be like that, 1 by 2, 1 by 4, and 1 by 8 at 3 qubits value, root of 1 by 8. So that many information you can pack into the one atom. So what it means? See, for example, if both 0 and 1 you are trying to put it, in 1 bit itself you are able to encode it. That leads to all 2 power n possible permutations as far as your quantum bits is concerned. But if you go into classical bits, okay, it will be out 1 out of 2 power n possible permutation alone will be able to store it. So in essential, what we need 2 power n classical bits to encode the information. The same information can be encoded in the n qubits. See the massive difference of storage. And obviously, when storing is little and manipulating is also going to be very small for you, and you will be end up in huge performance upgrade in that compared to the classical. So take an example of now. See, let's say f of x is equal to 0 or 1. For x is equal to 0 or 1. Take this example. How we will solve it? Consider f of x. Input can be either 0 or 1. Right? According to classical computer, input can be either 0 or 1. Similarly, output also can be either 0 or 1 only. Maybe this cross will be there. Your function will do that. If you input 0, output will be 1. If you input 1, output will be 0. Or maintain as it is. In the case of gates, what you're trying to do, like your AND gate or gates. So some people will be aware of it, some people. So in that way, I'm telling it. So in classical, you need at least 2 evaluations to determine whether f0 or f of 0 is equal to f of 1. Because you have to calculate f of 0 first, and then calculate f of 1, If f of 0 or equal to f of 1 or not, you need to at least 2 evaluations. But using quantum gates, you need only one. How it is? Take this I showed the figure in the first slide. That figure now. Now what will happen is, like sort with the states along with plus x or minus x. The lavender is in plus and yellow is in minus. You see that? Now you see that when you start the gate, both values there, you can send it. Then perform XOR operation. You know the XOR gate, how it is work. So below the figure you can see that XOR operation, how it is work. Now you apply XOR operation for f of x. When f of x is put, the output can be either 0 or 1. Now you want to find out f of 0 equal to 0 plus 1. That also will be there. Or other option is minus 1, because if it is in plus state, see for example, if it is in see that plus state, the lavender goes into gray. Similarly, if you and minus state, the yellow goes into red or whatever it is, right? So these both things are now available as far as the quantum is concerned. Now what you will do, you measure it so that whichever you are interested, that portion you will get it, isn't it? So this both things are maintained here, right? And whatever you want, you are measuring it. So the headache is going to be in your algorithm to measure what exactly you want, from where you want to find out. That's how it is. But since we told measurements, the measurement limits you here in algorithm, in quantum. Why? In general, any qubit register can represent numbers 0 to 2 power n minus 1. That everybody knows. The same way how any variable we are putting in C programming, 0 to 2 power n minus 1, how it is maintained, in the same way it is going to be there. So that means by this figure, if you see it, and by this assumption, since one operation we are able to maintain both the results, so we are very happy, right? Too good to hear that, okay, 2 power 0 to 2 power n, I can maintain it. Suppose 1 qubit, I can maintain 2. If it is 4 qubit, 2 qubit, I can maintain almost 8 informations, and 3, 64, and so on, so forth, right? But it is true, you are able to do it. But the problem here is, as soon as we told things of here, you measure, that is the final thing you are going to do it, isn't it? So when you are measuring, okay, see, in qubit normally what they do, as I told in the beginning, it's going to measure through the spinning of the atoms or subatomic particles. So this is how it will be. The figure is there, no? It is how it will be. You put the furnace, you put the silver atoms, move on, and apply magnetic field, make sure it is spinning. Now what actually observed is there in this. If you see a classical prediction, so there is a classical prediction will happen that once the classical prediction is happened, right, other states collapses. That's a major problem with your quantum. So what will happen? You just see that I have spinning state. In spinning state, as I told in the coin, if you see that in the spinning state, we have both information that is represented as A plus B here. But as soon as you measure, it will collapse to either 0 or 1 only. So here the A's are called probability amplitudes, right? Using which we need to measure the exact value currently what is stored. After measurement, as I told, the quantum state collapses, so information is lost. So you may not be able to retrieve information. Okay. So in such a difficult scenario, how you can benefit? If a measurement changes the answer, how can you fully utilize the 2 power n states? So you can measure. Suppose I have 2. Out of 2, I want to measure 1. Other will automatically goes down. means you are not going to utilize both, isn't it? So how we are going to utilize both states? The key here is the hidden information you have to extract. Like one, I am doing it. Once you measured, that value is with me. When that value is available with me, through that value, I can identify other values also. Right? So the option is, see, in your classical computers, what happens is a series of registers are put and series of logical gates are put. At the end of the day, at the end of the operation, you will have only one value come to you. So other values are automatically degenerated. You cannot generate that again, isn't it? But here what happens, using one value, you can identify other values also. So now it is depend on your algorithm, how you are going to write the algorithm. So suppose A is have 0, now B, C, D, E, all those things, different states, or what should be the answers in those algorithms, those states, you can easily identify using your algorithm. And you can use the entanglement relation also to develop the algorithm here. What is entanglement? That I will tell you now. There is some relationship between this data. They are building called entanglement. The ability of quantum systems to exhibit correlation between states within a superposition. Okay, that's I told you, in the superposition is A plus B, 0 plus or 0 1 together is going to be that is called superposition. The correlation is that if one state is going to show 0, from that other state also you can 0 find it out. So imagine two qubits, each in the state of superposition. Then we can entangle two qubits such that the measurement of one qubit is always correlated. Correlated means what? So I'm able to relate this one value with other value, other state, other qubit value, right? So this entanglement represents fundamentally a new type of correlation that cannot be reproduced within the context of classical physical theory. Why? As I told, in classical physical theory, these transistors and all, when take the output, so transformed output only you are going to get it. For example, in NOT gate or AND gate, or here what will happen is in AND gate you give 1 and 0, then finally you will get 1 only. And 0 and 1, 1 and 1 you'll get 1 only. From that, you cannot identify whether the input is 1 and 0 or 0 or 1. Isn't it? Yes. Yes, Jayesh? Jayesh?
Any problem, sir?
Some Jayesh, somebody was raising his hand.
Okay.
So any question is there, I want to answer it.
Yeah. Please, those who have questions, who has raised their hand, you can ask the question. Unmute yourself and ask the question. Yeah, okay, sir, you can continue, sir.
Okay, fine. So in that, a quantum algorithm set of operations that prepares superposition and entanglement and transforms the quantum state itself. Right? So the superposition and entanglement together putting is, we can use now more and more now fully this one, what is that, all the states of the atom. The quantum algorithms proposed for full-scale quantum computers are expected to provide significant speeds up over the best-in-class conventional method for certain problems. See, again and again mentioning is certain problems only, because we are not currently proved. It is much more able to do it. So only certain problems it is able to solve it right now. Okay, so any questions there, you can answer it now and then take it further.
Sir, you just continue, sir. There are probably some technical issues. I'll discuss with our team and get back to you, sir.
Okay, fine.
Because the audience, I think they're unable to unmute themselves. So I'll discuss with my team and get back, sir. You can continue, sir, meanwhile.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you, sir.
Next one is, see now you understand the data representation. See, data representation is using the ket formula 0 and 1, using a bracket 0 and 1 for ground state, and for exhibit state 0 and 1 is going to be there. And there is a new position called superposition. For that, you are going to show it 0 plus 1 together. This is the data representation. And the states, you know, that entangled state and superposition. Using this correlation between the two qubits, we can operate. So by understanding these representations of data, now we will see more on the operations how we are going to do in the data. Okay. Now is nothing but operation is through some gates, as we told it. According to quantum mechanics, evaluation of isolated state is given by a Schrödinger equation. This is how it is. The equation is known dou by dou t as psi of t. Psi is, you know that in the polygate diagram, we told psi is the angle theta we are going to measure it. Hence, what will happen in circuits? In quantum circuits, operation can be carried out by any unitary matrices, and each matrix is a possible quantum gate. So, you know, unitary matrix, no, it is 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, right? Nothing else in that. So, see now, since unitary matrices multiplication done with your gate, you are going to get a possible quantum gate. So that means what is that? See, suppose H is the unitary matrix for you, then you get the conjugate transpose of H. Then either multiplication of matrix with its transpose or transpose with its matrix, whichever way you do it, you should get 1. So this is what we call as reversible computing. So all the operations have inverse now, because we are able to transpose the given matrix. Okay, you do inverse transpose, you will land up in what the original thing is, isn't it? So this is what we call reverse computing. The reversible computing is major thing. Because of this only, the degenerate output will not be there for you, which is not the case in classical computers, transistors. So the original input state, what you are given for the gate, 8, 0 or 1, what you are given for the gate, that can be derived from the output state also. That is what we call as a reversible computing. Okay. Now let's see that example of what is reversible logic. See, due to the nature of quantum physics, the destruction of information in a gate will cause heat to be evolved, which can destroy superposition of qubits. So we have to be very careful in that. That's the reason I told the measure. And at the moment you are trying to measure, the distribution, the disturbance is going to happen. So the superposition will destroy it. You are not able to get it. The quantum gates is similar to classical gates, but every gate has the same number of input and output. Right? See that example, AND gate. In typically what will happen, an AND gate, let A and B are your input and C is the output. So you are having only one output. And if you see in this, C, in case of A and B taking 0, 0 or 0, 1, see the table here, okay? The value will be that 0, zeros, except the last one where which both are 1, then only it is going to be 1. This is AND gate. This is normal AND gate, everybody knows it, right? So in this case, now if you see the first 3 cases, the information is lost for you, because you are sent 0 or 0 or 0 or 1 and 1 and 0, unless you are going to 0 only. So suppose you are getting 0, what is the exact B you sent as an input? See, in the first case, you are sent B as 0. In second case, you are sent B as 1. In third case, you are sent A as 1. In all these cases, you are getting only 0 as the output. So you may not be able to measure what is the input you are given. Right? But in the last case, because both A and B are common, output is also common, so you tell that, okay, as per AND gate, it is common. You got the point, right? Because it's very important to understand it here, the AND gate. See, 1 in 1 you are getting 1. That means both has to be 1. So you can justify that A and B also is 1. But in other three, output is 0. When output is 0, either it can be 0 and 1 or 1 and 0 or even 0 and 0. We don't know what are the inputs case, isn't it? So this AND gate cannot be directly used into the quantum. So because of that, what will try to do? We will use the quantum gates, wherein which one qubit, right, represented this way is represented by a column vector called A and B. Now then one qubit gate is represented with a matrix, let's say unitary matrix PQRS is there, that satisfy the transpose of a matrix, and then we'll get the 1001. Now PQRS, this is called the conjugate complex number, right? And since we call use unitary matrix, now the value of when you're multiplying the input vector with your unitary matrix, you will get the value of this loss line, right? Equal to 1. Where this PA plus RB square plus PA plus SB square equal to 1 will give you the superposition also. So from this, you can find out. Now see what is polygate. The polygate nothing but your NOT gate, which everybody knows it. In polygate, the poly is a diagram, if you remember that, right? So in the diagram, what we told, if you see this in this diagram, you have Z minus Z, X and Y, right? Z, X and Y, 3 directions are there in that. So all the 3 directions, you can measure it using the gate. What you do in X is nothing but exact AND gate, what you're having it. And Y gate, right now nobody is using much of the Y gate. In that, actually what is happening is some weird number, complex number I is there, using which they are multiplying and getting a value. And that Z gate is there, wherein which the flip the sign of second only. Right here, see, minus 1, output is minus 1, you are flipping it. So using this polygate, what they come up with, the basic gate in quantum is Hadamard gate. In Hadamard gate, what will happen is, see, this is input 0, represented by matrix 1 0, and again 1 represented by 0 1. Then in that case, your Hadamard gate is equal to 1 by square root of 1 1 minus 1. This matrix will become a representation for Hadamard gate. Now what will happen with that? You put the input and output, multiply it. So you will get H0. That is Hadamard after the gating. What will happen is this one, right? So in general, what will happen? If Hadamard gate is used for n times, then order of n in our getting is equal to 1 by 2 for n by 2, and summation of b equal to 0 to 2 for n minus 1. What is the b? Right? This is how Hadamard gate is working. Quantum. Now let me see it. Note this 2 Hadamard gate. See, for example, state 0 you are sending, you put 1 Hadamard gate, then it will become this one. So it will become 1 by 0 or whatever it is. Then that is going to be your superposition. Then apply 1 more Hadamard gate, you will get the output here. Right? So 2 Hadamard gates used in succession can be used as a NOT gate for you. Okay. Then another major gate is called controlled NOT. See that example here. Let's say C10, 0 of X is 0 of X. This is the output. Now this 1 and 0. See, for example, this matrix here 0000. Here it is a 2 by 2, sorry, 4 by 2 matrix, right? 4 by 4 matrix in this. So what will happen? There is a control. Let's see, 1 is a control, 0 target. As usual, that input is 1 0 and output is 0 1. Right? Sorry, 1 is input 0. When input is 0, that is represented by matrix 1 0, and input 1 represented by 0. Right? Now what will happen? This controlled NOT will do what will do? Invert the bit on the target if the control line is 1. So for example, this take the figure. Now A dash and B dash I'm giving. When input is A, that is 0, and my control line is 0 here, then my output, if you see it, A dash and B dash is going to be maintained as it is. But when the control line is 1, see, that is the case wherein which my green, the yellow highlighted one, When control here, B, I am supplying 1, right? Then it is reversing it, right? In target, it is get reversed actually. So this is how this one, if the bit on the control line is 1, invert the bit on the target line. That is the role of control NOT. This is something similar to your XOR gate with some extra information to make it reversible. That's it. So this is what the XOR gate we are explaining, that the Deutsch algorithm also we are showing it, right? How f of 0 equal to f of. The next major gate is called controlled NOT. Here the target, right, will be transformed if both the control, let's see B and C are 2 control. If both the control is having 1, then only target will be changed. Otherwise it will not be changed, right? So here it is going to be 8 by 8 matrix. You can just see that in input output, this figure what I am giving here, the last column is having both B and C control. This what is called the control bit is having 1 value. That means the output value, that is the target value, A, is reversible instead of 1 into 0. Similarly, if you see the middle, the input, the target value is the A you are inputting as 0, but the target is coming as 1. Why? Because both the control value is 1. This is what we call the control NOT. This control NOT is called as the universal quantum, right? So this is so what will happen is the control has been shown as universal virtual logic gate, as it can be used as a NAND gate also. How do they actually introduce NAND gate? When our target input is 1, because we want 1 in target, right? Our target input is of the NAND and B of C. NAND is nothing but what? Not AND, right? So we have AND previously, now put not to that. So that means what will happen? Now control, we told here, when B and C are 1, the target is reversed. Then similarly, B and C are 1, the target is reversed, right? See, similarly here, if B is 1 and C is 0, now target should not be reversed, right? So that's what they are maintaining here. Exactly, AND is nothing but more than that. You just see the AND and apply not toward that, you will get this, right? This is what is called as universal quantum computer. So most of the activities, as I told in the beginning, gates computing, using this only they are trying to do it. Okay. Now major mathematics and other areas is completed now. So little bit small on what are type of problems, because as the HOD was talking about, they are pursuing a lot of research also the faculties. I felt okay, giving some input towards the problems is also good for the use. So I'm putting that way. Okay, so the problem is now if you see at RSA factorization, almost more than 1 lakh computers parallel operating at 3 gigahertz. You cannot factorize that right now. That's why they are calling RSA encryption is so strong encryption. But if quantum computation allows, right, it is within 1 minute it will clear it. So this has been proved, right, by Bell-LaBadie-Shor algorithm. In that algorithm, they find prime factors of large number. So he had demonstrated with prime number for 15. And what is that? The prime number, finding a prime number when multiplied, give a third unknown number, the third known number. Through unknown prime number, when multiplied together, give a third known number. That is what we are going to do it. So now we'll get only third number. From the third number, how will we find out the unknown prime number? It's a brute force. We have to check all the prime numbers, multiply one, this one, that one, this one, all this is find out that number. So that because in quantum computing you have multiple steps using what is that 5 qubits. So you have a lot of this one is the 128 qubit information can be stored. So whichever is able to store, other thing you can realize through a algorithm, proper algorithms. And another one is I told beginning of Grover's search algorithm. It is especially meant for unsorted data. And imagine, so most of people know that complexity, how to calculate complexity of an algorithm. So instead of doing 2 power n, he is doing about a root n, an order of root n. So that's why it's become famous. See, let's say what is the classical search, how we are trying to do it in the shorts algorithm. So not shorts, gross algorithm. Searching unsorted list, classically, no better way than just a check, isn't it? So it should be order of n. See that in the figure, the mouse is sitting in the top of the pyramid, and you want to reach this slice of the cake, right? So what supposed to do? It will go all the possible ways, one by one, right? Come back, search, and finally land it there. Isn't it? Now, if you go into classical quantum search, Grover's algorithm, look at that. Now, mouse is from the pyramid came down to eat a cake. Now, cat is following it. Now, the important thing is, you know that cake is not going to move on. It is going to be in the same place, stagnant. The mouse can go and find it out. It can take its own time. But the cat case is not like that. Because once he's complete the eaten the cake, this mouse will move away. So you have to be so fast to find out where the cat is and go and eat, isn't it? So considering that, what will happen? Just to see the growth, he will split into multiple areas because using qubit, what I have it now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 means what? 2 power 3. So 2 power 3 operations, I'm able to do it in single stroke. 2 power 3, I think 8 information is storing in a single qubit for me. Sorry, in 2 power n is 2 qubit, right? I'm able to store the information. Then, as we explained, if use better algorithm to measure it properly. So that is what this algorithm is going to tell it to me. So all algorithms I am going to discard it, right? I am going to use this algorithm. So invariably, the measuring will going to tell me land exactly where the mouse is at very fast instead of going all one by one. I'm able to reach into the place, isn't it? So that's why this quantum search we are calling it order of n of square, n root n. So because if you see that the previous this one, see in this case, it is coming and searching. Previously you searched all these things. Now the qubit is having all these informations, right? With its positions. Now it is up to you to calculate it. So you know that correct position and measure it. So just one single path you are going to come and take it from here directly. You are coming and taking it, isn't it? Order of n square. You can finish so square root of n. You can finish it. Okay. Now other possible applications they are coming into picture. So what are these things? Travel salesman problem, which is very common. Then we have a quantum simulation. Just 1 minute. So another thing is about quantum simulation, where in which we can utilize it. And then agriculture. Then you have weather and stock market predictions and financial services using a Monte Carlo simulations. Agriculture may like different proteins, how it is there, you can find it out. All these things, right? Based on your search only, right? So search we have shown something better, we can do it. Then we can do all the places. Now, how another some 5-10 minutes I will wind up, madam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, no problem, right?
No problem, sir. You can proceed, sir.
Okay. So now what will happen is how to build on QC and what are the candidates. So this operation single physical qubits and algorithm on multiple physical qubits. Then you have measurement of error correction because qubit, as I told, a lot of noise is going to be there. So you have to find it out because, as I told, it collapses also with the in terms of external environment. So that also you need to see it. Then after that, store it in logical memory, which will have longer lifetime than physical qubits. Then after that, you have to single logical qubits. You have to do operations like an AND gate, what are trying to show it there. Then algorithm multiple logical qubits. Finally, you have to come with a fault tolerant. So that much complexity is there in building a quantum computer with the time We hope so we will do it. Right now we are able to do 3 qubits or 4 qubits demonstrated it now. And other real multiple qubits are not taken up, will be should be taken up. Now we'll come to this first. Previously I showed this slide also. There I use what are the types only. Now in this I just want to use. Now I explain it. What are the different type of adiabatic computing? There, if you see adiabatic computing, what is happening is different ways of that. One is about superconductor based quantum computers called SQUID. This consists of two superconductors are separated by thin insulating layers to form two parallel junctions. This device is configured as a magnetometer to detect your small magnetic field, using which, okay, they can create the qubit. Another type is ion trapped based quantum computers. What is trapped? It is nothing but putting it into a shell. The ions or charged atomic particles can be confined and suspended into a free space. How it can? It is free space, but how can confine it? For that, you have to again use the electromagnetic field. Then the atomic ions are trapped in a vacuum and then cooled using lesser techniques. That is called again one qubit can be created through that also. Then next one is about your NMR and ESR. There is a spelling mistake here. It is not add, it should be end. NMR and ESR are molecules in isolation. What is NMR? NMR is nothing but nuclear magnetic resonance, and the ESPR is nothing but electron spin resonance. See, the ESR is often called as EPR also, pragmatic resonance. We call electron pragmatic resonance. The fundamental difference between ESR and NSMR is that magnetically you split the electronic spinning states, right? That done by your ESR. But NMR splitting the nuclear spin of the state itself. That is what the difference will do. So again, it also supposed to act on the subatomic particles only. Then another method is called quantum dots. In the quantum dots, what are they trying to do? It is nothing but a nanoparticle, small, that their electronic properties are governed by quantum mechanics. Pairs of quantum dots can serve as a single basic element in the quantum logic gates, right? I call it qubit or whatever it is. Silicon qubits can be made to hold just one or few electrons. Using that, you can create a qubit again. Another one is cavity quantum electrodynamics. Here, it is the study of interaction between light confined in a reflective cavity and atoms or other particles. Again, subatomic particle, whatever you want. You can use under different conditions the quantum nature of light, photons, and then you can take it, try to work it out. So these are the ways. This adiabatic, as I told, is you create the environment. In that environment, you create a qubit and then try to study the properties of qubit and operate on it. That is little completely difficult actually. So why the difficulty is? Because as I told, a small operation on qubit is going to create heat and is going to destroy the state of the qubit. So what is supposed to do? We need to make the temperature as low as possible, so that heat is not generated out, heat flow is not going to be there. So for example, just see it. What we talk about in 30 degrees Celsius, what we are talking about it in a hot day normally for us, it is equal to 303 Kelvin, right? It is hot day I'm talking about it in terms of Kelvin. But in room temperature, if you see it, around 20 degrees Celsius is nothing but 293 Kelvin. And now we are talking about what is the freezing point of water in degree. It is 0 Celsius, right? That is nothing but your 273 Kelvin. Why I am taking again and again Kelvin here is the basis. You can appreciate the amount of cooling needed to create for this. So now the quantum computers, the physical adiabatic quantum computers, operate under extreme cold and temperatures near absolute zero. For example, I told that IBM computer is going to come out. Already they have come up with one 38-bit qubit or 54-bit qubit machine, there you know what is the temperature they are maintaining is? It is 0.015 Kelvin. That means it is minus 274 centigrade, or in Fahrenheit it is minus 460. Such low temperatures can only be achieved by cooling down the chip with the help of liquid helium. So this is a major challenge, how to make that thing very cool. To work these supercomputing qubits for extended period of time, they must be kept very cold. Right? As I told, any heat is going to introduce the error, which is why quantum computer operate the temperature close absolute zero, colder than even vacuum space. Right? So this is the difficulty in creating the quantum computers. Now this is some advantages and disadvantages going with ion type or supercomputing or spinning methods, whatever is there. I actually here. Then what is the best way to go ahead? Is that putting all it together, like final solution, combined technology that takes advantage of the strength of each approach. For example, you trap the ion for long-lived qubit states and spin the qubits for readout, and then supercomputer circuitry for quantum buzzers through which you can read it. Qubits, quantum gates, I think you can put it and use it. Right? So these are the current companies putting a lot of effort. Okay, going into invest a lot in money to do it. Now I'll go to the conclusion. So now the bigger question is quantum computer better than conventional? Right? It's a simple question to ask, but answer is very difficult. So I myself have some what I can tell, no clear convention. So that's the reason I'm putting it. Apart from Shor's and Grover's algorithm, okay, no other algorithm has been discovered to claim this is better. Even the other 50 algorithms, they claim nothing come into prominence. Because Shor is the one wherein which your cryptography is going to get affected, and Grover's is the one wherein which all the searches is going to be there. Because now the world is nothing but database and search and database. Nothing else is there, right? You call it, structured database, unstructured database, or general database, or database with your images, voice, all the things, but basically search. So only in those two it is shown. Other areas we didn't see anything. As of now, with enough time and computing power, even conventional computers should solve these problems, which QC is supposed to solve. Given the difficulties what I told about the cooling and maintaining that area's environment, that difficulty I'm talking about it. Given the difficulties of actually building a QC, even the next 50 years, who knows? Because from the room size, small operational number crunching ability computer, we reached 30 billion transmitters sitting in a palm top of our mobile. So they may make the quantum computers irrelevant also, even absurd also. The fingers are crossed. Only point here is, so if you want to do that, the transistor also has to reach very small, and that may itself become a kind of atom, or that may now not obey the physical laws. It may go on to obey the only quantum laws. That is only a doubt. Otherwise, still research will going on, keep on trying to do it. So considering the confidence of Google, so they are claiming that Bristol-Corn processor, they are achieving quantum supremacy. What is quantum supremacy? It's a new term. The quantum supremacy is nothing but, at least I take one specific problem and show that, right? That problem, using quantum computing, I'm able to solve much more faster, which I cannot solve in the normal physical computer. That what you are going to show is called the quantum supremacy. So here what happened is that Google has claimed with its new Bristol-Corn processor, they have claimed that quantum computing is already achieved. But even other big player, IBM and all, is disputing that because the paper what they published, Google, they took that problem and showed that this problem can be solved in a normal computer itself. So the supremacy was in question. And Intel has already put a quantum processor on a silicon chip and they are trying it out. And IBM quantum computer is already available in cloud. It is publicly available. Anybody can go and register and try to use it. Maybe if follow-up talks or something is there, then I will show it. How this quantum computer using the PIC kit, it's called PIC kit from IBM. Using that, how we can play around with the small these gates and other things, so that that will initiate the people who are interested to do research on this area. As I told previously, also IBM promises more than 1,000 qubit quantum computers milestone by 2023. It's not far away, another 2.5 years. No matter how difficult for programmers to understand quantum computing, currently, if you see the trend of your computers and other things, the odds are stacked in favor of the quantum computing. That will follow the same path the IBM mainframes did. So one day, this is everybody's wish also. I want more number crunching, so that is very smaller, faster, and more powerful. Eventually, it should be sitting in my at least laptop. Find some solution for this, the cooling, healing, all these things. Still, it should sit in my laptop. Even we don't understand the science behind them, of how it is working, protons and atoms and ions. I don't worry about it. At the end of the day, I should play the games, powerful games. I should do the online shopping. I able to search instead of one Amazon. I should be in a position to search in single place all multiple countries specific Amazons and countries specific Flipkarts and Baba things. So that's what ultimately people want to use it. And if you're not able to do that, then the companies are not going to make money about it. They're not going to spend much on it, isn't it? So with that, what is my conclusion? Quantum computing is very much in infancy right now. Already several ideas or applications is there. And even the question is going whether the so-called NP compute, which cannot on a polynomial time, you cannot solve. This every computer people knows it, right? So NP compute problem is not able to solve in polynomial time. So even if you see most of the research papers in cloud or grid computing or even HPC computing, if you go, they will talk about it. The problem is something similar to NP complete, so we cannot find ideal solution polynomial. So I will put my own heuristic solution. So because he knows only heuristic, it is easy to achieve. So they will go behind with the polynomial, the NP complete. So whether this quantum will kill that theory and make the people to suffer hard to come up with the proper solution. That's also going on. And whatever other algorithms like Lovers and Shorts and thing is going to be taking off, we don't know. But nobody can predict what might come out. Fingers are crossed. Will quantum computers become today's laptop, or classic computers will maintain its edge? Because we know in 1950 nobody knows about what is internet. And in India as such, we are in 85, 86 only that internet slowly they started. But now even kids without having internet cannot live. They cannot eat. Mummies want internet in their mobile to show YouTube and some kids games to feed them also. That much internet is grown. Similarly, this quantum also can grow. We don't know. Finger is crossed. Let's see. We'll hope better for us. With that, I will complete. If anything is there, you can ask it.
Dr. Sridharan, there are one query from our Dr. Ranjit Thapa. Shall I read it, sir?
Yes.
Okay. If a quantum particle, say qubit, is in superposition state, can we ever know the state in which it was?
That's what I told through your gates. Now, for example, see, when it is in superposition, you may not be able to identify it is in superposition now. Because by the theory of quantum physics, what is talking about it, the particle during spinning, it is going to maintain a superposition. Superposition is nothing but maintaining the both state. Here both I mean is input state what you are getting. All of your activity is view two inputs, play around with that inputs and choose the right output for you. In classical computer, what is happening is when two sets you are giving based on your AND gate or OR gate, whatever you want to achieve, the end you will get only one. If series of gates are you put together, the end result after fifth or sixth step, you will get only one result. From there you can decode it. But here what will happen is that superposition is going to have 2 power n, right, number of qubits. That position will be maintained in the qubits. So as soon as you are reading it, measuring it, the superposition collapses, right? And it will become 1. So now you know 1 I read it. So remaining qubit positions, what are going to be there? That is what I showed in the Grover's algorithm. If you see it, initially the cat moves, doesn't know where it to find out the rat, right? The mouse. So it will start everywhere. All the 8 possibilities you are able to search together. That is what the qubit state is maintaining. From that, you are searching the only one position where your mouse is there. That means other positions also available. You can guess it out. So what is for example, if it is only 2. For example, input is 0 and output is input is A is 1 and B is 1, and you are using AND gate, output is 1. So in that case, you can judge. Okay, my output is 1. I am using AND gate. That means both the input should be 1. Isn't it? You are judging it. In a similar way, in quantum, 2 power n options you can judge using one output. Okay, is it clear that answer for you?
Hello.
Is it clear?
No, Professor. Actually, specifically, suppose a qubit, suppose is in superposition state.
Right.
Now, if you go for a measurement,
Yes.
then it will collapse in either 0 or 1.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that means we will get the output either 0 or 1. So my question
No,
is,
it is what I'm
suppose
saying.
there is any measurement,
No, that is
it
what
possible?
it is what I told. If you see in my, I will show that 1 minute. I myself captured that. You see that if a measurement changes the answer, how can you fully utilize 2 power n states? Is it right? The same question you are asking now.
Yeah, but no, but 2 to the power n state is not the superposition state. These are the state of qubit, which is the like a ground state. It is
No,
not a
no, no, no,
superposition
no,
state.
no, no, no. 2 power n is the ground state. That means superposition also going to have the ground. That is speciality of qubit, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason I told the key here is to extract the hidden information, because you are getting one output as you are telling, but in superposition, whatever the values are, that is we call as the hidden information. There, how clever you are going to use the algorithm, right? This algorithm you have to devise how you are going to do it. For example, that's what I told in the cat and mouse game. You see it. See here, I know, right? Cat, the rat went to that side, so I hit catch. Now what I do? Now you started. The input is cat, which is reaching into all the 8 possible options. This is your superposition. Understood? Okay, this is your superposition. Now what I'm trying to do, from this, I'm measuring. When I'm measuring, my value is only available here. I'm measuring this. All other places is collapsing now. Yes?
Yes, it
Now,
will
for
collapse.
example, instead of mouse, suppose I see that mouse arrow. Suppose I am measuring this place, right? At the same time, all other places are going to be blurred for me. So, but what I can do is, okay, I measured here. Here I don't have value. That means in remaining 7 positions, I should have my value. So, what could be the value of those 7? I can justify that. Got it?
Yeah.
That is the way I taught in AND gate also for your example. See, for example, this, where is that AND gate? See, for this AND gate. Now here, if you see, if my input A and B is both are 1, then output is going to be 1. In this case, right, you can easily guess even in your current computing technology. But if other three cases, if 0 and 0 is there, output is 0, with that you cannot guess whether B is 0 or 1 or A is 0 or 1. In both cases, output is 0 only. This is in current scenario. But now what will happen is, all these three things are going to be available for you in the qubits. So if 1 is 0, then other thing what is going to be there, you can guess it.
Yeah, so this is the 2 qubit problem. This is not 1 qubit problem. A and B are 2 qubit.
No.
A and B are two
two
qubit.
inputs. No, 2 inputs you get.
Yeah, 2 inputs means 2 different qubit. Or if
Two
you
different qubit. Correct, 2 different
yeah.
qubits. Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
So
thank you.
why I'm telling you this guessification, what you have to do the proper guess and you apply your algorithm. That's it. Okay. Yes. Hope I am able to answer you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Any other queries? You can leave it in the chat box. There are no more queries. Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, fine. Thank you, sir. We'll try to end this session. I think there's a feedback link shared in the chat box. Please fill up the feedback link and give us a feedback on this session. So now I would like to give a vote of thanks. I thank our department head, Professor Raghunathan, for encouraging us to organize such events. And also I would like to thank our management for supporting us in carrying out such tasks, the entire ITKM team for helping me out in all the tasks and the smooth conduction of this event. Special thanks to our speaker, as well as Ms. Divya, a Joint Director CDAC, who was a kind of helping person for me to introduce you to the speaker. And at the end, I would also like to thank all the participants for making this session an eventful. Thank you. Sir, your session was really interesting and it has given us basic ideas of what exactly is a quantum computing and the differences between the normal computers as well as the quantum computer. Thank you, sir. In future, we would like to see that we get a kind of collaboration with CDAC Bengaluru. And now before ending, I would like to ask our HOD if he has any points to put on this. It's welcome. Sir, Professor Raghunathan, sir, you can just take the mic over and share your views, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, madam. Thank you, Dr. Sridharan, for your, exciting talk. And then I really enjoyed. And definitely in future, we try to, collaborate with you and, kindly help us. Okay, once again, I thank you, for your scintillating talk on quantum computing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for everyone for hearing patiently. So hope so a little bit in your mind to think on this. So probably if you want to go a little more on the gates and how exactly you want to do programming quantum gates and all, later we can take it up also, it's not an issue. And similarly, we as a CDAC Bangalore, we are in different field and HPC also we are trying to do and IoT also we are trying to do in whatever case possible ways with the growth of SRM, we can also help you out for this university, and for that I'll be always helping you, Professor Raghunathan sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Let's talk together. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, one and all.